Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Chris Flood. I'm the business reference librarian here at the St. Charles Public Library. Thank you for joining me for Career Conversations. We're going to be talking to Sharon O'Leary, a senior advisor with SBN Landmark Commercial Real Estate. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions tonight, please submit them via chat. This program will also be offered in February, and I'll be speaking to an audiobook narrator named Jean Sheneman. That'll be on Thursday, February 19th. The registration link is on our online calendar. And now I'd like to welcome Sharon O'Leary to Career Conversations. She is a senior advisor with SBN Landmark Commercial Real Estate. Prior to this, she was an assistant VP and VP with different firms, including Murray Commercial Real Estate, Summers Commercial, and Citus, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, Commercial Realty. Sharon has a Bachelor of Science in Marketing from Northern Illinois University and volunteer experience with the St. Charles Business Alliance Business Development and Sales Committee, CASA, King County, and the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us tonight, Sharon.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. The idea behind Career Conversations is that people, such as yourself, can provide insights into their career. And I think this can be helpful for three distinct groups: young people contemplating a career, people considering a career change, or people looking for a side hustle or extra income. According to the World Economic Forum, American adults have held down an average of 12 jobs by the age of 55. And research indicates that the COVID-19 pandemic has also caused an increase in the number of people not only getting new jobs, but making complete career changes. I think as children, it was normal to think, when I grow up, I'll be fill in the blank, not realizing how common it is to change jobs and pivot in your career path. So thank you for a peek behind the curtain at a career some people might not be familiar with. So for those people who might not be familiar with commercial real estate, could you give us an overview of what the job and the field is all about?
Okay. Commercial real estate is about selling and leasing commercial space, such as retail stores that you see and retail shopping malls. It could be office buildings. It could be industrial warehouse buildings, flex space warehouse buildings, medical offices, anything like that businesses need. We always think about residential real estate and homes, but there's a whole nother side to the commercial side, which involves a lot more dealing with the financials and investment and working with landlords and tenants and moving into spaces. It's something I never realized when I went into the real estate field, but there's a whole nother side to real estate than just selling homes.
It just dawned on me, not everyone, I say we, meaning me, have spent way too many hours watching House Hunter on HGTV, and I don't think there's an equivalent in commercial real estate, is there?
Not really that I'm aware of.
Yeah, yeah. Might
No,
might
no.
be a investment opportunity or something you could do here in the future.
Some new
So,
thing.
right.
Creating
Okay.
your commercial space. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So how did you learn about this career? And um, was it early in your career that you realized, oh, this is for me?
I started my career out of college doing marketing communications for a couple different firms. And then I had my kids, so I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. And when my kids started grade school, I wanted to get out of the house and do something. I missed being in the working world, but I needed something flexible. And that's the one thing I'll say about my job as a commercial realtor is I was able to work, for the most part, my own hours and work at home or go to the office. It was very flexible. And I think that's what really attracted me to it. Um, so what I had to do was get my Illinois real estate license through the state of Illinois, which I went to a local, I think it was Caldwell Banker, and it was, several hours. I went to a class for about 3 months, twice a week, and at the end of that class or course, which I took with several other people, it was kind of fun. And again, it was more focused on residential real estate. I did learn some of the commercial aspects of it with leasing and things like that. Um, so that was basically the training was to get my Illinois real estate license. And as far as really learning about it, I went to work for a local developer that built a lot of commercial retail and office buildings in St. Charles and Geneva. So a lot of mine was just learned by doing. And really in this business, you almost need a mentor or somebody that's going to teach you the ropes. You need to learn about leases and sales contracts, which are, you know, pretty specific to each particular transaction we do. So a lot of it's learning on the job.
Okay. Um, so I think you kind of covered this, but what are the educational requirements? You mentioned
Yeah.
that you had to take a
Yeah.
class, get a
Yeah.
license.
Obviously a college degree is not required to become a licensed real estate professional. You do have to have a high school degree. But at the moment, college degree is not required. So it's something that, if somebody doesn't want to go to college, it's definitely an option for them. Um, you just have to pass the course through the state of Illinois and the national through NAR, the National Association of Realtors. It's basically two different tests. Um, but that's what it takes as far as training. I have taken additional training throughout my career, specifically for commercial real estate investing and learning more on the investment side and analyzing properties and income and analysis for valuation of commercial properties. So
Okay. What would you say is the most enjoyable thing about your daily activities?
I would have to say the people and that every day is different. And you're not just, you'll get a call. You never know what your day is going to bring. You've got several listings out there. You've got a retail property, a commercial property, and you get a call, and it might be somebody that wants to list their property for sale, or you've got a prospect for one of your commercial listings. So you're going to go meet that person, and you learn about their business and what it is they're looking for and what they need. If it's for example, a retail store on First Street in St. Charles, one of my, I helped lease in a lot of those units on First Street, and one was jeans and a cute top, a retail store. You go and you meet with that business owner, she came from Wheaton. That was the part I enjoyed. I got to go out and you kind of farm and look for businesses that fit your building. So I met with her and I said, we could use a store like yours in St. Charles, and you learn about their business and you help them move into a new space. So I'd say that's probably the most enjoyable part. And then helping them through that whole process from identifying the space that works to helping them with, the lease, and all the information in the lease and getting them, zoning, if, anything that's involved, just helping them through that whole process and then seeing them open for business is pretty neat.
That's a great local St. Charles business. And
Hmm.
Jill Card, the person who was the
Mm-hmm.
one
Yep.
in Wheaton,
Yep.
has done a lot for the city. I mean, she
Yes.
was very active. So thank you, Sharon, for
Yeah, and
scouting
that's
that. Yeah.
probably a lot of it too, is I get more, pretty involved in the community as
Mhm.
well. And just being involved in the community and bringing businesses together and bringing businesses to the community is a pretty cool thing.
Right. Okay,
Hmm.
there's a flip side to every coin. If people and variety were the enjoyable part, what do you like the least, would you say?
Dealing with um, difficult landlords, property owners, um, on the listing side, people that believe their property is worth more than it is, based on, everybody thinks they've got a diamond in the rough when they've got the best property out there. But you got to bring them back to reality based on market conditions. What is that building in? What type of shape is it in? How old is it? The improvements that, trying to, tell them, set their expectations. And, this is, you might say your building's worth $1 million, but in reality, it's really only worth 600,000.
Mm.
And, trying to get that across to them. Um, that part is challenging.
And still
Another
keep the
challenge,
listing, right?
yeah, yeah. And I have lost listings because I just, the reality of it is I can't go out there and ask 1 million when it's only worth 600,000. That's a challenge. And deals get tough in commercial real estate. It's not like in residential where you just, you negotiate back and forth, you come to agreement on a price and you close in 30 days. And there's so many other things involved with commercial, like, the use for the building, zoning, getting approved for certain grants to get money. There's a lot more to it. And a lot of things can fall apart. You can have a building under contract for 6 months,
Mm.
and for whatever reason, it's not going to work. So then that deal falls apart. So that commission you think you're going to get is gone. So there's definitely some frustrations with things like that happen along the way. There's a lot to a commercial transaction.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think people would find surprising about your job?
Hmm.
Maybe how complicated it is.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much goes into it. From the day you meet someone that wants to sell their property to the day we can close, there's a lot of steps in between that you don't really think about. And a lot of things, like I mentioned, that can go wrong. And probably the thing I really would need to let people know, and I don't, is you can't go into it expecting to make a lot of money right away. If you're new in the business, you've got to build relationships, and you're not going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks like some jobs. It's 100% commission usually in all the firms I've worked for. And so you might not get a paycheck for 6 months that first year you start, or it could even be a year. I mean, it all depends. So you've got to go into this with some financial backing. You can't depend on it as consistent income, I guess is what I should say. That's the one thing people need to realize.
Right.
It takes time to build your business, and you can go for months without a paycheck. So you got to learn to manage that.
So, but do you see this being, as they say, a side hustle for someone? I think you would almost have to have a side hustle to fund
Yeah.
this while you're getting going.
Yeah. I mean, I'm married, so I had my husband's income. So, you have to have something that's going to back you up when you
Right.
first get into it. And
Right.
people need to realize that part of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the potential for good income is there, but it takes time to build your business.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. What would you say is the secret to your success?
I would say building relationships, getting out in the community. I've always been very involved in the chambers, different committees, different non-for-profit organizations, just getting the word out to people what you do. And um, that's really just what you have to do to make it work. It's a lot of relationship building and takes time
Mhm.
and a lot of perseverance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you might have covered this in explaining the financial aspect of it, but do you have any other advice for people who would consider this as a career?
Sure. Let's say you have to like people and talking to people. It takes a lot of patience. Um, uh, but it's fun. You enjoy, you get satisfaction out of helping people, helping them see their dream when hey, the first phone call was, I need somewhere for my new bakery, whatever it is. And you hold their hand through the whole process as helping a tenant. Um, and that's what I like about it. It just you go and you help them, and then you're there for their ribbon cutting or their grand opening, and you know that you were a large piece of that, helping them get to that point. Very
I, I,
satisfying.
I think of driving through St. Charles on Main Street. Is that hard for you to do looking everywhere you go? Like, I did that one, I did that
Yeah,
one. Ooh, that one's up. That
yeah. I find myself driving through town. You've got to have a good sense of direction with this job too. You got to kind of be. I'm always driving around looking, and you've got to strategically. Like sometimes I'll go out on a showing one day, and you got five buildings you got to show, and you got to think, well, which one do I go to first to make logical sense? You got to kind of put them in order so you're not driving all over the place
right,
in
right.
different directions. But it's kind of
Yep.
fun because it's like I remember that, or I'm always trying to be involved in the community and what's new and what businesses are going in. And yeah, it's a fun part of the job.
Okay, now this has gone pretty quickly, which is fine. But my last question is, if you weren't doing commercial real estate, what career do you think you might have been drawn to?
Hmm. I've always been interested in real estate.
Mhm.
Probably in marketing, some type of marketing job, or I'd be selling houses. I
There you
mean,
go. The other
I,
side of, yeah,
the other side of it, I'd be
yeah.
in the residential side selling homes. But the difference between selling residential real estate versus commercial, I think, is the emotional part of it.
Mm,
Selling homes, if somebody wants to consider being a residential real estate, you're dealing with people's lives, right? And the emotional part of going into a home and this is where you're going to live and raise your family. Whereas in commercial, we're more business to business type thing. So there's not as much emotion to it. It's pretty, straightforward that it's, you're going to open your business here and these are the terms of the lease or the terms of the sales contract. It's pretty cut and dry.
right,
So that's
right.
kind of the difference between
Mm,
the two, but I think a lot of people that go into residential don't even really. And I've met a lot of residential brokers that have kind of moved over to the commercial side
mm,
once they've been, they might get their feet dabble a little bit in commercial and be like, "Oh, I kind of like this." So then they switch over to the commercial side and they do both, or they do
mhm,
both.
right.
But but it's definitely an option for anyone looking for a flexible career where you kind of can make your own hours and work at your own pace. I mean, you've got to be there if someone wants to see a property, of course, in the next day or two. You've got to, you got to work your schedule. But it's interesting. It's very interesting, and I'm learning something new every day. I really am. And
Mhm,
every transaction we do, I think I learned something
right.
new about um whether it's the type of, it's just some of the businesses I meet too are kind of fun. It's
Mhm.
different things. I'm working with one now that's like a compounding pharmacy where they just
Hmm.
make different drugs and things like that. And um, some unique businesses I've come in contact with over the years has been very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the favorite things about my job here at the library when I'm on the reference desk is you don't know what your day, I mean, I know I'm going to be there for 4 hours, but you have no idea the questions that you're going to get. And
Yeah.
I love that aspect. So I could see that that would be similar. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be challenging probably, but what it's going to be, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
That's really the
question. So.
mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
So
terrific. This has been great. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add? I've kind of covered everything that I had in mind. I think
yeah.
you gave some
Um,
really good answers.
yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely something, whether you're a college age coming, or just getting out of high school, I think it's a great opportunity. My biggest advice would be to find a firm or find someone that's going to mentor you. I've always had great mentors that have basically taught me the business. 'Cause it's not really something, I mean, there are classes you can take, and I do know some colleges offer careers in commercial real estate. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't even think about. You're
Right,
driving down the road and you don't realize that every building you see out there is a form of commercial real estate,
right,
from
right,
a shopping mall to, a huge office building.
yeah,
Um, and there's opportunities there.
right,
So
right.
that's it.
Terrific. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're
Um,
welcome.
I really appreciate it. As I mentioned at the beginning, this will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel. Um, We do have another one in February, the audiobook
Okay.
narrator. I'm interested in learning what that person has to say. And I feel like I'm not doing this program just for myself, but selfishly, I am kind of pleased learning about all these things behind the scenes.
Right. It's
So, yeah,
interesting. I would never
yeah,
think about an audiobook narrator. That's
right,
just
right. Yeah,
a career I would never even think about,
yeah.
you
Well, it's
know.
February
Yeah.
19th, 7 o'clock.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, terrific.
All
Thanks
right.
so much, Sharon.
You're
You take
welcome. It was
care.
fun. Thank
Okay.
you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye,
Bye bye.
Chris. Bye-bye.